Welcome to episode 376, where I'm speaking with Anuradha Gupta and Ashish Pandya about their new book, Unveiling Health, Happiness and Longevity, a primer on Ayurveda. We discuss why these three factors are so important to our well-being, along with the 6 components of holistic health, which are physical fitness, emotional health, social health, spiritual values, occupational wellness, and intellectual wellness. And we cover lots more, so please stay tuned. Hi there, I'm your host Colette, and on this podcast I will be sharing the teachings of Ayurveda, yoga, and holistic health practices. Now, if you're new to Ayurveda, I recommend checking out the first couple of episodes where I do an introduction to Ayurveda and the mind-body types. Thanks for listening, and now here's a new episode. Hello, and welcome back to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. I am very happy to welcome 2 guests today, Anuradha Gupta and Ashish Pandya. And let me just tell you a little bit about them before we start chatting. Anuradha Gupta completed the Ayurvedic Doctor program with Kerala Ayurveda, where she is a guest faculty, content specialist, and Ayurvedic practitioner, student mentor. She is also an engineer, MBA, and 200-hour yoga teacher and social justice advocate. Ashish Pandya is an Ayurveda expert and has helped in its revival in the West under the guidance of Gurudev, founder of The Art of Living, and as VP of Education at Shankara Inc. He is a certified Art of Living teacher and has transformed the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. And today we're going to discuss their new book, Unveiling Health, Happiness and Longevity, a primer on Ayurveda. Anuradha and Ashish, very welcome to the podcast. Thank you for chatting with me today.
Thank you, Colette, for having us.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. I loved your book. And what I would love to start with is what led you both to write this book? And, what is your wish or your goal for this book?
Maybe I can go first, Anuradha ji, if that's okay. And it started about 8 years ago now, where I used to train on Ayurveda to different spas and universities, introducing it and stuff. And then in all of them, I kept getting questions like, when do you have your book? Like the way I presented it, people loved it. And this was across like 20 countries around the world where I was actually teaching, not just in the United States, but around the globe. And everybody kept asking. And so I started recording my talks. And then once we got transcribed, then I actually gave Anuradha, she's like my elder sister, my mentor in some way. So I asked her, like, can you just see this through? And then she like, you need help. And then Anuradha, you want to take it from here?
Yeah, it's a very interesting story for me, Colette, because, I was filling gas in my car when I got this call from Ashish. And, he's a celebrity. He comes across as very humble, but he really is a celebrity in Ayurveda. So, and he said that people are asking him for a primer on Ayurveda. And I love the idea because I had been writing for Kerala Ayurveda and for Art of Living. And I, interacting with my colleagues and, with my peers and students, I know a lot of people are looking for like a little, primer, something that gives them an idea of what Ayurveda is in an interesting manner. So, I felt our skills complemented, so he's the dynamic network celebrity and I am, very rooted in knowledge. And I love, this is something that I love, this, writing. So I told him I would love to join in. And that is how we ended up co-authoring the book. We, know each other through the Art of Living Foundation. And he, was the one who had the idea because he had been doing this for a long time. So I'm very grateful to be on board.
Wonderful. How great. So you had known each other in advance of that and decided to collaborate. That's great. And before we go forward, I would love to share, what is the Art of Living Foundation? I actually am familiar with them. When I lived in San Diego, I gave a talk on Ayurveda back in my early days of studying Ayurveda. But if you could share with people, what is the Art of Living Foundation, please?
Awesome. I'll let Ashish take this because he is an Art of Living volunteer meditation teacher also. But just from my perspective, Art of Living, teaches meditation and is a global humanitarian organization in over 180 countries. It teaches yoga, teaches breath work, and does a lot of service. And I was turning 40 when I did that program, which is actually, it was called the happiness program because happiness is what we are all looking for. And it was life-changing for me. And, my husband is also a volunteer teacher. Ashish, you want to talk more about Art of Living?
It is actually one of the world's largest volunteer-based organization, and even bigger than the Red Cross, and with over 800 million people following around the globe, where lives have been transformed through the breathwork and mindfulness meditation program taught through the foundation. And it is about celebrating life through enhancing our energy and protecting our energy and sharing and caring. So
that's great. It's a beautiful foundation. I really enjoyed my time with them in San Diego.
Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar, who is the founder of the organization, is also the inspiration behind, the company that I work for last 22 years, Shankara, and the beauty products and stuff. So
wonderful. Great synergy. Fantastic. So let's get back to your book now, because your book focuses on achieving balance in health, happiness, and longevity. So can you explain to me why these three factors are so important to our well-being?
These three factors came about very organically as we were going through the book together, Anuradha and I. And we felt it was very important. We created the content, and our working title was Unveiling Ayurveda. And then we started working, but as we refined over the years and months, we felt that really catering to these three pillars in one's life, health, happiness, and longevity, right? Ayurveda said if you lived an Ayurveda lifestyle, we can all live up to 120 years and still be skipping without any knee replacement or hip replacement, right? So it's very natural that when life in balance can have health, happiness, and longevity naturally. We don't have to take any artificial, injections or anything like that. Just living in harmony naturally gives us that. So there's no extra effort. All we have to do is just align, and health, happiness, and longevity happens.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Aligning with nature, right, Anuradha? Did you want to add anything there?
Yeah, sure. I think as we align with nature, we go back to our intrinsic self, and we see that the advancements in medicine have enhanced our longevity. But how about our health span? The years that we live disease-free. How are we working on that? We see that, non-communicable disorders are on the rise. In America, 6 in 10 Americans have a lifestyle-based disorder, as it is called, type 2 diabetes or cardiovascular health issues, joint disorders, like Ashish was saying, kidney, lung disorders, even certain types of cancer. And they are comorbidities because, in diseases like COVID-19 or flu, they worsen outcomes. And there is an epidemic of stress. So these are the leading causes of death, disability, and lost productivity. And they are responsible for more than half of the global burden of diseases. According to the World Health Organization, poor nutrition is today an even bigger health issue than smoking. If people modify their diets, 1 in 5 deaths can be prevented. So, that is where Ayurveda is so relevant. If we align with nature, with natural, holistic medicine, instead of just focusing on our productivity, if we go back to ourselves and we live a simple, natural lifestyle, then we beyond health, we would also regain well-being, joy, and live up to our fullest potential. And that is what we want to highlight through this book. That is how we'll be happy. That is how, we'll be healthy. That is how we live longer with a better quality of longevity.
Right, exactly. Having vitality in our later years, not just living longer. You made a point in the book of defining well-being. And if you could share with us, how does Ayurveda define health and well-being?
Sure. So I can just start with the definition of health, and then Ashish actually, talks a lot about different types of, health, like, physical fitness and emotional health and so on. But in Ayurveda, we have a shloka, samadosha, sama agnishcha, samadhatu, malakriyaha, prasanna atma indriya, swasthya iti abhidhyate. So the very definition of health is to be established in the self. And, if our doshas, which is our functional energy principles, if our tissues or dhatus are nourished, if excretion is good, if our digestive and metabolic fire is, balanced, enhanced, and if our soul is, our sense organs are, they are happy, if they are content, that's when we are healthy. So it's such a beautiful holistic definition going beyond just health.
Yes, exactly. And you were referring there to the 6 components. So Ashish, I'd love for you to cover that, the 6 components of holistic health and wellness that you talk about in your book and how they contribute to leading a balanced life. If you could cover those for us, please, that would be great.
I think we both can go back and forth on this. One thing, the common misconception actually that was prevalent in the West here, that health only was limited to the physical health. Lately people are becoming more aware about mental health and the challenges that it presents to the population, right? But that was always put under the carpet. Don't show your emotions, don't show what you're feeling, suck it up, like, just keep a smile on the face and, do your thing, head your head down and do your thing, right? And that is what has caused so much disharmony, in oneself, in the family, in the community, and in the world at large. And Ayurveda is always addressed, right? Where we call it well-being is not just your physical health, but like how Anuradha was saying, it's more of being established in the self. And there are 7 layers to who we are, right? It's our body, our breath is, that keeps this body alive. Then it's the mind that perceives the world and surroundings through the 5 senses, right? And what is the role of mind? And then there is a faculty in our consciousness called intellect. So whatever we take it in through the 5 senses in the mind is filtered through this faculty called intellect. Is this good for me? Is this right for me? Is this not? Yes, no, right, wrong. All the discriminations in life that happens is through this faculty called intellect. And all of that experience is then stored in a bubble called memory, which is the 5th level of our existence. Right. And then when we start identifying with these experiences as who I am, becomes our ego. And beyond the ego is who we really are, the self. Right. And so through Ayurveda, through Art of Living, that this is the whole well-being is like really, and Gurudev says this beautifully, a disease-free body, quiver-free breath, a peaceful mind, inhibition-free intellect, trauma-free memory, and an ego that encompasses all. And sorrow-free soul is a birthright of every citizen, right? And that is what is well-being through Ayurveda or through the holistic lifestyle, right?
Beautiful.
And I think coming back to these basics, recognizing like what is the role of memory in me? Ego is there. How do I utilize it rather than it inhibit my progress or evolution? But Anuradha, if you want to add a little.
Sure. So Colette and I both have for some time studied with Dr. J. I did all my studies with Dr. Jayarajan Kodikanath, who wrote the foreword for our book. And he always was so inclusive of all practices. And, he told us in our first class, he said, you've come from different backgrounds, but nature picked you to be here. And then, he said, for certain types of ailments, for surgeries, you may need Western medicine, you may need Ayurveda for, basically your longevity it's so powerful. But he made us very mindful of the strengths from different cultures, and and I really appreciate that. So one of the things that I was thinking about is that ill health happens, and sometimes because of grief, vata is aggravated, aging is inevitable. A person could have an accident, like I had an accident, and my knee, I had to have meniscus tear surgery. And there is a very beautiful shloka, Om Asatoma Sadgamay Tamasoma Jyotirgamay Mrityurma Amritam Gamay Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So, Ashish Bhaiya explained the concepts of, spiritual values and intellectual wellness so beautifully. But it was very powerful for me when I was listening to a discourse by Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar, and he said, you can have a weak mind in a strong body, but it is best to have a strong mind even in a weak body. I mean, he was leading people through a meditation. And, when we talk about spiritual values, I think meditating, introspecting, living in wisdom, volunteering, making service a commitment, all of that gives so much mental strength. And, we have stigmatized mental health to such a great extent. But holistic health, which includes the mind, body, spirit, wellness in our occupational life, is that our calling, intellectual wellness, all of it, that is something that Ayurveda has that strength to address in every intake. That's what we ask people. So how are you doing? And then we spend an hour going over everything about their life and understanding and empowering them so that they can lead a happier life.
I was just reminded that, a good Ayurveda doctor can not only play the role of Ayurveda, like your doctor, but also your psychiatrist, also your therapist,
Yeah.
and all of that, right? So it's such a complete science.
It is. And like you cover in the book, it's like you cover those 6 components of, like you said, a holistic health and wellness, which are the physical fitness, the emotional health, the social health, the spiritual values, the occupational wellness, and the intellectual wellness. And I'd love to cover a little bit, obviously the physical, the emotional, we touched on there, but the social health. You talked being of service and so on. Would one of you address that a little bit more to help people understand, please?
I feel, and I've seen this in my life, Colette, and Anuradha also. If we just did this one thing, the word depression would go out of our dictionary. If we could just go out and serve somebody who is less fortunate than us, who is, less privileged or something, just this one thing would lift us, our energy levels and prana so much that, we would not even have any depression or anything like that. So selfless service is putting somebody ahead of you, without expecting anything back, right? And that elevates us from our little whirlpool that we get stuck in, that, oh my God, this problem happening is only to me, and why me, and things, there's an easy way to get depressed also. You just keep thinking about why me, why is this happening to me, and why me? And then 15 minutes, you'll see that your energies are drained.
Mm-hmm.
And the antidote of this is to go out and serve.
It's true, because we all just want to feel that we have a purpose in this world. And when we are being of purpose, we're feeling like we're contributing, right? And that's what brings us happiness, not the accumulation of material goods, but actually that we're making a difference in some way. Yeah, it's so true. Beautifully
Very
said.
scientific.
Yes. And how about occupational wellness?
Yeah, maybe Anuradha ji.
Yes, sure. So, I just wanted to expand a little bit more on social health.
Please.
First, sure. So we talk about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So in all Vedic sciences, that we are one world family, and, then enhancing our health and well-being, it helps in our relationships. In Ayurveda, when we understand our own prakriti, we understand the prakriti of our, maybe our partner, our kids, our community. And those values, the values that we, our achar rasayana, or the values that we have, the gramya rasayana, the values that we have in a community, our behavior, all of that contribute to social health, and also sustainability, how we are with the environment, how, we take care of the 5 elements, how we take care of plants and animals and nature. And in fact, epidemics, Janapada Dhvamsa Vyadhi, happen because of adharma, sustained adharma, pollution in all these elements. And I think that is so important, where Ayurveda touches on social health. It talks about the community, it talks about sustainability, it talks about nature, honoring nature, and that is really essential. And I think, when we talk about an occupation, all of us, we have a role to play, and beyond, just going to work and doing our daily work, how does it connect with our spiritual well-being? Is our occupation our calling? And in fact, Vedic astrology also helps there. So there was a Vedic astrologer who told me that you're actually supposed to be a healer. I was an engineer, I was an MBA, and so I was like, well, I don't really know. But then I started studying Ayurveda. It was a midlife shift, and I think in our occupations, if we can align with what is our calling, what we can do for the betterment of society. And it doesn't mean that we don't need people in finance, but what they can do beyond their occupation, that'll be good. And even in their occupational lives, how they can honor their own health, because what happens is there's so much burnout. There's so much of a focus on productivity, but instead focusing on health of the company and its social responsibility, focusing on, the health of relationships in the company, how satisfied one feels with what one is doing, and how one can, create that work-life balance. So balance is Ayurveda, just encouraging that balance. I mean, Dr. J forever tells me that you need to slow down and do fewer things. So that's, that is my take on occupational wellness. But, Ashish does so many things. He wears a million hats. So Ashish would, but a lot of them are in service. So I think that's what gives him energy. Ashish, would you like to add to that?
No, this is fantastic.
I'm going to jump in here because I wanted to let you know that my next discounted group cleanse is starting January 31st, 2025. It's a great way to start the new year, taking care of your health and well-being. This group cleanse comes with a 90-minute online consultation with me so that I can check in on your current health status and then tailor the cleanse to you. Now, this is a holistic cleanse. So not only will there be recipes tailored to you, we're going to be incorporating breath practices, yoga, lots of dinacharya, self-care practices included in this cleanse. And I tailor it all to your lifestyle so it doesn't become overwhelming for you. And this is a group cleanse. So we have a private community where you can connect with others on the cleanse, and it's great for support and accountability. If you would like to learn more, just click on the link in the show notes or visit my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com. For the group discounted cleanse starting January 31st, go to the events page on my website. Now, if that date doesn't work for you, you can choose a private cleanse. It's the same structure, but you just get to choose your own dates and you have me one-to-one for support. You'll find the private cleanse information under programs. So I hope to connect with you in the new year and that you start the new year taking care of your health and well-being. We know that Ayurveda, along with encouraging us to live in alignment with nature, the circadian rhythms and so on, and then looking at analyzing these 6 components of our life and making sure we have balance, we have integrity. And as Dr. J would say, we're living the middle path as much as possible to keep balance. But Ayurveda focuses on prevention. And you talk in your book about the 3 pillars of health. So I'd like to just discuss about these 3 pillars that will help prevent imbalances and disease in the body and mind.
Yeah. So, we talk about prevention because prevention is what really helps with our happiness and longevity. And, when we talk about immunity in Ayurveda, and I noticed, Colette, you did a podcast with Dr. J on long COVID. And the thing is that in immunity, we talk about two things. We talk about our ability to prevent diseases. And then if diseases happen, how can we bounce back faster? So, that is so important because prevention, in the current context of non-communicable disorders and lifestyle-based disorders is really important. So the Trayopasthambha, or the three pillars of health in Ayurveda, are what we do on a day-to-day basis. It's our ahar, which is nutrition. And in Ayurveda, we don't define it as just, what we eat, but our food, our breath, our, sensory perceptions, and everything is ahar. And then, and even there, in terms of principles, following circadian rhythms, eating at time, the same time every day. Right? So that really helps, following a routine. So that is the first pillar. The second pillar is nidra, or sleep. We underestimate the importance of sleep. A lot of people say, let's be productive, let's sleep late. And, just sleeping on time and sleeping enough actually lends so much of the immune support that we need. I mean, there was a study that, people, who slept 5 hours versus people who slept 6 hours, the people who slept lesser were so much more susceptible to the common cold virus. So they were injected with the common cold virus to see the resistance. And so sleep is really important. And then the third is brahmacharya, or, some people think that it is celibacy, but it's actually just the middle path, or aligning with Brahman, as Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankar says, aligning with a higher purpose. So Vihar is our lifestyle, which could include, following the daily regimen, dinacharya, and ritucharya, the seasonal regimen, following, achar rasayana, sadvritti, the good practices and thoughts and speech and, service, and also taking good care of ourselves. So that is basically Vihar, or lifestyle. So Ashish, would you like to add to that?
Yes, thank you. And these three pillars, ahar, nidra, vihar, it's or so to say, the food. If we just look at food, usually I teach this in universities, that how much food should we be eating, right? And I made the mistake of holding that this is the size of our stomach, two palms together. And the kids came back to me saying that, okay, I can stack pancakes and stuff and, and eat as much as I want. And I'm like, no, no, no. So this is the size of our stomach. I had to reword myself, It's very interesting, what you learn from the kids.
Yeah.
And, so what to eat, how much to eat, when to eat, all this is prescribed in Ayurveda. And it's, like no food cooked over 2 hours should be consumed. Ayurveda, it loses its prana, fresh food, things like that. And depending on your doshas, it is recommended, right? So it's very customized and personalized, right? Not every person has to eat that same protein and same calories and same, all these things, but it's very customized, what suits you for your well-being, right? And same goes with the sleep also, right? Some people do, like, I mean, if you're a regular meditator, right? Meditation boosts your immune system by 5 times, right? And there have been studies showing that. And so regular meditators, you can go away with 6 hours of sleep, maybe 5.5, 6 hours of sleep. But if you're not, then you do need that 7, 8 hours of sleep that is prescribed. And at the time, by 10 o'clock, you should be in the bed, unwinding already and things like that, right? And and then Vihar, which is very interesting also, right? How do you conduct yourself? How do you carry yourself in this world? And what is that impact, right? On your actions has impact both internally and externally, and observing that, right? So it is very beautiful how these three pillars can lead to a complete health and well-being.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned sensory perceptions there, Anuradha, and I think that's very important in our world today when our senses are on overload, right? There's so much coming at us all the time. Yeah. Do you have anything else to add here in regards, how do we manage that when we have so much sensory overload in our world today?
Yeah, totally. I would love to because, so Dr. J is my Vedya also. It's very tough to advise anything to oneself. Like, so I cannot ever, nobody can be their own, doctor. And
Yes.
I'm very fortunate, right? Right from the beginning, when I started my journey, Dr. J taught me. And that was one thing that he always told me, reduce sensory overload. So, especially, for people that are vata pitta uh, imbalance, that's like a forest fire. I mean, it's hard to I'm sorry I brought that up, but I just realized we're in the midst of the California fires.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
and it's really devastating. But yeah, so even in our own lives, when the air from vata and the fire from pitta together cause burnout because we are trying to do so many things, and social media is constantly aggravating vata. So I think it's very important there. In Australia, I think they have the kids under 16 are not allowed to be on social media anymore. I read a
Yes,
news
that's
of
right.
that time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's good because so many people are constantly on their phones, and it's we have such a digital overload, so we need to schedule time for social media. We need to take breaks. We need to go into silence. So we do silence retreats in Art of Living, and we are off social media then. So we need to also say, okay, at meal times, no phones. So it's very important also in terms of the EMF, basically Vastu, just making sure that our rooms don't have, Wi-Fi
Yeah.
in the night, or, we cover our devices. We have a friend, Michael Maestro, and he tells us, cover all your computers with a silk cloth, and, don't have too much EMF radiation around, and not too much microwaving. So all of that, I think, our senses, all of them are constantly going outwards. And then when we
Mm-hmm.
go inwards, that pratyahara, the meditation is so important. So a daily meditation practice soothes the senses. And then in Ayurveda, we also talk about other ways to soothe the senses, like an abhyanga, which is part of our, daily regimen, our vihara or dinacharya, just oil application, and then we also do nasya. We apply some drops of, oil to our nostrils in the morning, and then we wash our eyes. So all as part of our dinacharya, they soothe the senses, and then oil pulling soothes the senses. So those are some practical ways we talk about soothing the senses. And of course, being out in nature. So that
Mm-hmm.
really helps. Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Anuradha, you brought up the LA fires there, and I have to mention, Ashish, you're in LA County. As we're recording this, it just happened yesterday and last night, in very scary times. But I'd like to ask you about, in times like this, where people all over the world are experiencing these scary times, this comes into sensory perceptions and how we deal with these, scary things on the news, whether we're living through them or seeing them throughout the world. Can you give people advice on how to handle these times when there's a lot of uneasiness for people?
Yes, and we also actually experienced this, dilemma and a choice we had where, what do we do? Do we close our doors and windows and sit inside in a cocoon, or can we do something to have, help? And we have a lovely Art of Living center in downtown Los Angeles by USC. And so first it was just scary because, I have two daughters and they started coughing because of the smoke, and we all are coughing. And that's why I keep muting myself a little bit here. Um, but immediately, the instinct was to, like, how can we help? And so we opened up our center. We're housing families. We're taking care of people. And that, like we were sharing earlier, the social health, right? It just immediately takes us out of our little problem and then we have a bigger purpose, bigger, thing to take care of. and that seems to keep our spirits up, even for our children. And they are observing parents doing this, and they're part of this thing. So it's we feel, I mean, it's a catastrophic happening right now, but at the same time, you can make that as an opportunity to do something positive and good, and lead with an example. So
yeah, I think that's great. And I think, when we're, like you said, we close ourselves in a cocoon and go down the rabbit hole of things on media, that we can really get myopic and just really build stress. Whereas if you're in action and you're being of service and you get out there and start help, it helps to ease that stress, and you feel like you're doing something.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
beautiful that you could open up that center. So as we finish up here, I'd love to know if there's anything else that we didn't touch on that you would like to highlight.
So, Colette, when we were writing this book, we thought, there are some books out there. So what is it that we want to give, to people? What do we want our readers to experience? And again, we come from that attitude of service, and, we want a reader to really experience a shift. We want the book to be empowering. And, so we want to personalize this experience. So we talked about a lot of examples. We touched on our own stories. We did, some cases. We talked about how people can personalize healthcare through, a Prakriti quiz, but then also to understand that imbalances can be different from their, dosha prakritis. And so I think, we also tried to talk about going beyond, prevention. What is disease management? And, we gave a case on panchakarma because it's very interesting for people. We talked about, some conversations on evidence-based medicine, because in Ayurveda, we are trying to, a lot of our work is individualized, and then it's systems biology. It's not like somebody takes an antibiotic and then, as a result of that, you do a study. We have to see, okay, now their digestion and metabolism has improved through taking Kalyanak Gritam. And now that is what finally leads to, because of the gut-brain axis, that leads to an improvement in their, their mental health. Basically, that is what is, the route. And so how do we study that? So we had conversations like that about, cultural appreciation, and not, OTC just taking Trifla or Ashwagandha. So we tried to include a lot in.
I saw that.
I think, yeah. So that is what we tried to do. And we hope it is of service. When you were talking about the fires, and Ashish Bhaiya was saying very beautifully, like, opening one's doors. I was just reading today, Mr. Rogers said, when I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say, look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping. And, if we can be helpers, that's, one step further. So
Absolutely.
To soothe at times like this. And, I think that's why Ashish actually told me, he said, I think we should, the proceeds from our book should go to Art of Living. And I said, that's
beautiful.
Wonderful. So,
That's
that's something that we've done, for its humanitarian projects.
Beautiful. That just speaks volumes, and giving back all the time. Lovely. Ashish, is there anything you wanted to add as we finish up?
No, I think, Anuradha is so articulate and covers it beautifully and very comprehensively.
Great.
But it's a great introduction, right? This book, and thank you for having us. It gives
My
us
pleasure.
a platform to share a little bit, and you're so well renowned, and we appreciate this opportunity to share a little bit about what we have.
It's an absolute pleasure. We're all have a passion for Ayurveda and to help people live in alignment and to help empower people and help them to become their own healers. So we're all in this together, passionate about this work. So the last thing we need to do is to let people know where they can find your book, Unveiling Health, Happiness and Longevity, a Primer on Ayurveda, and where they can find out more about you both.
Yes, we have a website, unveilingayurveda.com. That's a good place to get in touch with us. Also order your book. The Kindle version is coming. It's also on Amazon. If you just look up Unveiling Health, Happiness and Longevity. That should come up also on Amazon.
Great.
Yes.
Wonderful. Good. I'll put all the links in the show notes.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, we both are on LinkedIn, and Ashish is famous, but I'm with Kerala Ayurveda. I teach there, so I mentor students. So that's how a lot of people can connect with us. And I write for Art of Living and Kerala Ayurveda too. So but we are so grateful to you, Colette. I see what you are doing to spread Ayurveda, how hard you're working, and essentially that's such a beautiful service. You have these very enlightening podcasts on so many subjects. I was just listening to Manohar Srotas the other day, and then I'm looking forward to listening to Dr. J's a podcast on long COVID. And thank you for having us here to share and talk about our book.
It's my pleasure. Thank you. Congratulations on your beautiful book.
You.
And Ashish, wishing you all the best at this time. And all those who are caught up in LA County, and sending our thoughts out to everybody. Thank you both. I really appreciate the time, and congratulations again on your beautiful new book.
Lovely.
Namaste. You. Thank you so much. Namaste.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Anuradha and Ashish, and please check out the show notes to all the links mentioned. And if you would like to join my upcoming Digestive Reset Cleanse, it's a group cleanse starting January 31st, then please click on the link in the show notes or visit my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com. And for the January 31st group discounted cleanse, go to the events page on my website. If you want to do a private cleanse and choose your own dates, then go to the programs page. If you haven't already subscribed or followed the podcast, please do so, and the new episodes will automatically download for you every week. And if you would like to rate and review the podcast, if you feel like you're getting value from this podcast, I would really appreciate that and would help us spread this wisdom of Ayurveda. Please come join me on social media. My new Instagram page is Elements of Ayurveda Podcast. And on Facebook, you will find me under Elements Healing and Wellbeing. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take good care of yourself, be well, and bye for now. Slanga full.